Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Today I'm sharing the cards I made using Love From Lizi's June 2021 card kit. The theme is Tropical Escape. As I'm recording this voiceover, the kit and most of the add-ons are still available, but it is a monthly kit, so quantities are always limited. I will have links provided in the description box if you are interested in any of the products I show in this video. Let's go ahead and get started with card number 1. I'm using a card sketch from MFT. This is number 478. And if you are interested in any of the sketches I show in this video, I share all of that information on my coordinating blog post. The link is provided in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. For my first card, I'm using this fun parrot pattern paper and added a thin strip of this pink pattern paper with the little ferns. For some separation and sparkle, I'm using the pink holographic peel-offs in the pinstripe style, just putting the medium width along the edge of that pink pattern paper. And I'm able to use some of the peel-off scrap pieces since part of that area will be covered up with the sentiment pattern paper. So it's always good to keep your little scrap pieces of peel-offs. I'll layer this piece on some black cardstock. Didn't get it straight at first, so I was glad I was able to pull that up. Put some ATG tape on the back and put my card front onto a card base. And for this card, I will have that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Most of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, so 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. But I'll also be doing a few slimline cards as well. The kit includes single-sided 8x8 pattern paper, but you can also purchase the smaller size in the 6x6. And I do have both, and I will be mix and matching them throughout the video. So that parrot pattern paper is actually the 6x6 size. I wanted the little smaller images for my card. So after layering that sentiment pattern paper on some black cardstock, I did pop it up with some foam dimensional tape. Now using the green skinny ribbon from the kit, I'm tying a double bow. And I will admit I am not great at tying bows, but I do attempt it at least. I think the skinny ribbon is a little easier to work with. And I'll adhere that to the card using a small glue dot. Felt I needed to trim down one of those little tails just a bit more. Once that bow is in place, I'll finish off the card adding a couple of sequins from the kit. I'm just using the green color in 2 different sizes. I decided to only add the 2 since there are odd amounts of embellishments if you count the bow. So I'll put a drop of liquid adhesive down, pick up those sequins using my embellishment wand and press them into place. And there is my finished card, and this is card number 1. I love the vibrant colors that are included in this kit. Now moving on to card number 2, the card sketches from MFT. This is number 425. I have this fun cheetah pattern paper for the background. I'm adding some solid pink cardstock for that thinner rectangle piece on the left and layering everything on some green cardstock. And this green cardstock is included in the kit. Lizi always includes several sheets of colored cardstock, but I will be bringing in some of my own since I add a lot of layers to my cards. For the image on the card, I'm using the tiger topper ephemera piece that's included in the kit. And there's also a sheet of rub-ons. Now I haven't used rub-ons in years, so this was a really fun thing to have, and they're nice quality. So I have the Sentiment Wild Thing. Decided to put it on some orange cardstock so it would match that background just a little bit more. I do recommend cutting apart all of those rub-ons, then you'll remove the backer, place it on the paper that you want to transfer that image. Lizi did include a popsicle stick, but you could also use a bone folder. So you're just gonna rub that image completely, start to peel up the one side to see if it has completely released. If it hasn't, put that piece back down and keep rubbing until all of that image is transferred to your paper. It's really easy to use. I did trim away all that orange cardstock, so you're not gonna see it. I really just wanted that rub-on image. Before adhering it to the card, I put some scrap cardstock on the right side where it goes off of that pink paper, just to keep everything nice and level. For the tiger ephemera piece, I did trim down the left side since I want it flush to the edge. I'll pop this up using some thin foam squares and then adhere it right above the sentiment rub-on. So I am altering this sketch quite a bit, really using it more for inspiration. I'll bring in a couple more of the rub-ons. There's two little hearts. So I remove that backing piece first, place it on the card, grab my popsicle stick and just rub it completely, peel it away, and I do run my finger over it just to make sure it's adhered nicely. Then I'll add that second heart, do the same process, remove that backer piece, and they're in place. For a finishing touch, I'll add a few of the gem stickers that are included in the kit. I love the variety of colors, and there's 3 different sizes. For this card, I'm using just the gold, and I'll put 3 of them in that lower right-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 2. Now moving on to card number 3, I won't be using a card sketch this time. This lemon pattern paper is my favorite in the whole kit. So I was really happy to have the add-on 6x6, so I have extra lemon paper. If you couldn't tell, I will be making a slimline card. So it'll be 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches. I cut 3 rectangles using a Catherine Pooler slimline die set. I'm just adhering them in place on some green cardstock, just leaving about 1/8 of an inch border around them. Using that same Catherine Pooler die set, I cut out this scalloped rectangle die cut using some mustard yellow cardstock that I have on hand. Now you can see this die cut is very warped around the edges. So I do put some ATG tape on the back, and I'll also add some liquid adhesive to the very outside edge. It'll help it lay flat on the card. I found if I don't add that liquid adhesive, it will pull away later from the card base. So I'm rubbing along that edge just to make sure everything adheres nicely. For this sentiment, I'm using the Hello die that's included in the kit. I love how it has the word and also the outline. I cut out the letters from that same green cardstock, and then the background I used a leftover specialty gold mirror cardstock. It was from a previous Love From Lizi add-on. I always keep all of those little scraps of specialty cardstock. I will pop up the sentiment using some thin foam squares. I love the size of the sentiment. It fits nicely on an A2 size card or a slimline card. So I'll adhere it more toward the right on the card. I'll add a couple of stitch banners to the left, one with that same mustard yellow, and then the second one with some green cardstock. Before I adhere the green banner, I'll add just a small scrap piece of cardstock to keep both of those level. I'll also add a few small pink flowers, since there's pink flowers on the pattern paper. I have a small flower die, cut out 2 of them and adhere them together. I have 2 already assembled. Put some liquid adhesive on the back, put 2 of them in the lower right hand corner, and then 1 on top of those double banners. And it's probably hard to tell in the video, but the flowers on the pattern paper, the petals are a lighter pink. In the center of the flower, it looks like a darker pink. So I decided to add the dark pink rhinestones that are included in the kit, just putting them in the center of each of the flowers. Then one final finishing touch, I'm going to add some sparkle to all of the leaves on the pattern paper. So I'm using a glitter brush from scrapbook.com. This is just the clear color. I'll also use that glitter brush on the word hello, just for a little extra sparkle. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 3. I love that lemon paper. This is probably one of my favorite cards. For card number 4, I fussy cut out one of the flamingos from the pattern paper. I have this fern pink pattern paper for the background, cut it out using a stitched rectangle die. I'll add a few of the pink holographic peel-offs to the background, Using the medium width first, putting one along the center of the background, and then I'll use the thinnest width, put one above and below that medium width. Now, even though you're only going to see the very ends of those peel-offs, I do like to use one full piece first just to make sure to get them straight. And I lined it up using the grid marks on my craft mat. For the other two pieces, I was able to use just some of the scraps. I usually cut the peel-offs a bit longer than my card panel and then wrap the ends around the back just to make sure they'll stay in place. I'll layer this panel on some pink cardstock. I used a scallop rectangle die for that. Put some ATG tape on the back and adhere my card front to a card base. And I will have just that white border of the card base showing this time. I cut out a stitched oval die cut, used some white pearlescent cardstock. This is from one of Love From Lizi's add-ons. I love her pearlescent cardstock bundles. Adhered it to the card using some liquid adhesive, and then I'll also attach my little flamingo to the center of that oval. For this sentiment on the card, I'll use another of the rub-ons, this time the word smile. I'll adhere it to some white cardstock, trying to put it along the edge. Get my popsicle stick and rub that in place. Pull up just part of the end and it was not completely transferred, so try again. So do pull away that plastic piece slowly, that way you'll still have everything in the same position if you need to rub on a part of it again. I'll cut a fishtail on the left hand side and adhere it to the left of the flamingo's legs. I felt I needed to trim it down just a little bit more. I don't want it going off of the card. So once it's at the right size, I'll add some scrap cardstock to the left side to keep it at the same level as that oval die cut. Put some liquid adhesive on the back and adhere it in place. For embellishments on the card, I'll use some more of the gem stickers, this time the light pink color. I'll put 3 of them in the upper right hand corner. I did put 2 underneath the sentiment, but I will be changing that here in a moment. I kept moving them around. I wasn't sure where I wanted to place them. And then after the card sat on my desk for a moment, I decided to add a bow underneath the sentiment. So I removed one of the gem stickers and the little backing on it did stick on the card. So now there's no adhesive on that, so I will have to add some liquid adhesive. So I've already tied this bow so you didn't have to watch me painfully go through it. Adhered it to the card with a small glue dot. And then I'll put a drop of liquid adhesive for this other gem sticker. So just try to figure out where I wanted to place it. So there is my finished card. I think this one's so fun with all of that pink and a nice cheerful sentiment. Now moving on to card number 5. The card sketch is from Freshly Made Sketches. It's number 364. I'll be using more of the lemon pattern paper. So I did show real quick the comparison of the sizes with the 6x6 and the 8x8 pattern paper. So for my card, I'm using that add-on 6x6 size. Using the peel-offs that are included in the kit, this is not a new color, but it's one of my favorites. It's the gold clear mirror. So it's clear in the center and it has a gold foil on the edge. And I already had a partial sheet, so I decided to use that rather than start the brand new sheet that was included in the kit. Put 2 of them along that bottom edge, layer that pattern paper on some green cardstock, put my card front onto a card base. For that square that's on the left of the card, decided to use some solid cardstock. So this is just some green cardstock from my stash. I'll layer that on some green cardstock to give it some nice contrast. Adhere it to the upper left-hand corner. Then using a small piece of that yellow mustard cardstock, it matches nicely with that shadowed lemon on the pattern paper. Cut a fishtail on the right side. I'll add just a couple small scrap pieces of cardstock to the left of this banner where it goes off of that green square. Before adhering it to the card, I like to lay it down, run my finger across it just to see if it's at the same level. Then I put liquid adhesive on the back and adhered it in place. I'm using one of the ephemera pieces that's included in the kit. This fun lemon image. It goes perfectly with that pattern paper. Adhered it to a stitch circle die cut. For the sentiment on the card, I'm using one of the sentiment die add-ons. It has several different sentiments, the words, and also the outline. So for my card, it is for you. Use that green cardstock for the words and then that green mirror cardstock for the outline. So there's a quick look at that add-on set. Before adhering the lemon image, I'll add those scrap pieces of cardstock to the right side of the circle. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but that circle, I used some off-white pearlescent cardstock. So adhere that in place. And I felt that it needed something on the left side underneath the sentiment. So I pulled out some of Love From Lizi's mini circle peel-offs in the gold glitter color. Using the smallest size, I'm lightly placing them on the card to see if I like the placement. I decided to move them up closer underneath the word you. I absolutely love Lizi's mini shape peel-offs. She has the circles, stars, and hearts. They're great for embellishment since they don't add any extra bulk to the card, so you can still mail your cards without paying extra postage. I did also add 2 of the gold circles to the lower right-hand corner. Now moving on to card number 6, using a card sketch from MFT, it's number 480. I have this fun abstract pattern paper for the background, bringing in some more of that pink fern pattern paper for that 2-inch strip. To line the edge of that pink pattern paper, using some more of the pink holographic peel-offs. For that strip on the right, I used the straight style, which is a little bit wider than the pinstripe. And then on the left, I used the pinstripe in the widest width. Put some ATG tape on the back, and I'll layer this on some green cardstock and then again on some pink cardstock. I love all these bright colors, so it was fun to have some extra matted layers. I did need to trim part of that pink cardstock down just a little bit. Put my card front onto a card base. For the image on the card, I'll use another of the ephemera toppers, so this time the parrots. I'm going to pop this up using some thin foam squares. And these topper pieces and the ephemera are fairly thick, so they're really nice and sturdy. Remove that release paper and adhere it to the upper portion of that pink fern pattern paper. So you can see I'm really not following this sketch closely, just using it for inspiration. For the sentiment, I'll use another of the rub-ons and I'll adhere it to a stitch circle die cut. So the sentiment is loving life. So I did not rub this on completely. There's a tiny bit of the L that I missed. So I'm trying to line it up again and rub it in place. And you cannot tell at all that I missed that little piece. That's the one nice thing about rub-ons. If you're able to line them up perfectly, no one will ever know that you ripped a little part of it. Now I will be popping up the sentiment circle die cut. Trying to make sure to get it nice and even, and then I'll have just that tiny bit of this circle going on top of the oval. So once that's in place, I realized the very bottom part of this circle needed a little bit of foam dimension so it didn't droop down. I've already tied a bow using the green ribbon. I have a glue dot on the back and adhered it underneath the parrots. Then I'll add some of the gem stickers using that light pink color. Put 3 of them in the upper right hand corner and 2 in the lower left hand corner underneath the sentiment. There is my finished card, and this is card number 6. Now moving on to card number 7, I'll be doing another slimline card, and I'll use a card sketch from Mojo Monday. This is number 560. So you can see I'm bringing in some more of that lemon pattern paper. I had a 2-inch scrap piece left over and I didn't want that to be wasted. I'll also use some of that sentiment pattern paper. It has sunny days, wild at heart, lovely times. It has adventure, lots of fun sentiments. I'll layer the 2 pattern papers on some green cardstock and then again on that mustard yellow cardstock. As I was getting ready to adhere that lemon pattern paper down, I realized it's actually sideways. So I was trying to figure out if there was a better direction to put it, but I don't think it really made a difference. Hopefully the card recipient won't notice that that lemon pattern paper should go up and down rather than sideways. I'll layer this panel on a scallop rectangle die cut. Use some light green cardstock for that. Then I'll layer it again on that dark green cardstock. The pattern papers in the kit are fairly busy. There's not a lot of patterns that really work well together. So bringing in some extra solid cardstock really balances out those busy designs. Now I'll put some ATG tape on the back and adhere this panel onto a card base. So this is a full slimline size card, 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches. For that little circle element, I have a stitched circle die cut. Use that off-white pearlescent cardstock. I also have one of the wood pieces that's included in the kit, and I'll be doing some heat embossing to add color. I'll press that wood piece into my stained Versamark ink pad. Then I have some embossing powder from Love From Lizi. This is the Tutu Pink color. It's a beautiful light pink color with glitter mixed in. I have my heat gun and I'll heat set that. Now you could also paint or use markers to color up these little wood pieces, or you can use them natural. I wanted to add just that a little pop of pink. So once that is all dry, I'll use some multi-medium matte adhesive on the back and adhere it to the center of that circle die cut. Now I felt the top portion of the card needed a little something, so I cut out 2 small banners, one out of that green cardstock and one out of that mustard yellow. I'll layer the 2 pieces. And then before adhering it to the card, I'll put that scrap piece of cardstock on the very left, since there's all those different cardstock layers. I do end up adding 2 pieces of that scrap cardstock. And the little banner dies are from a retired MFT set. So put liquid adhesive on the back and adhere it to that upper left-hand corner. And for a finishing touch, I'll bring in the sequin mix, using just the light pink sequins in the 2 different sizes. I'll put 2 of them on those banners in the upper left-hand corner and then 3 in the lower right-hand corner. This sequin mix is so pretty. It has the dark pink, the light pink, there's some green, gold, and some off-white. The kits always include the sample size, but you can always purchase a full size if you really like to have sequins. So I'm using my embellishment wand to pick up those sequins, adding a drop of Barely Art liquid glue and then pressing them in place. I thought the card was finished at this point, but I decided to add one of the gem stickers to the center of the flower. So I'm using the light pink. I will add a drop of liquid adhesive first. I'm using my tweezers to help get that little tiny gem into the center. So I think that added just a little something extra to that flower. Now moving on to card number 8. Using a card sketch, this is from MFT number 542. And this is going to be a very fun bright pink card. I used a scallop stitched rectangle die to cut out this pink floral paper, adding it to some dark pink cardstock. And you'll only be able to see a peek of that dark pink cardstock along the edge, since that scallop rectangle die is a full A2 size. Put my card front onto a card base. I also have some stitched circle die cuts. Use a light pink cardstock color for that. And for this card, I'm following that sketch fairly closely. I'll adhere the circle die cuts down first. And then for the sentiment, I'm using the Hello word die that's included in the kit. I've already cut it out and adhered it together. I have some white pearlescent cardstock for the word hello, and then that same dark pink cardstock for the outline. I'm also using last month's add-on. It's the Leaf and Vine die cut set from Love From Lizi, and it is still available. I use the green pearlescent cardstock from the add-on bundle to cut out all of these little pieces. Put some adhesive on the back side of the H, and then I'll also put some on the back of the O. Just start attaching all these little branches behind. I like that pop of green from the branches against all the pink on this card. So just trying to place the last of the little branches. So once I think I have enough, just to make sure those branches aren't going to fall off, I'm adding some double-sided tape to the back side. Now they do add a little extra dimension, so I'm also going to put some scrap cardstock pieces in the center. I'll do 2 layers since there's all those different branches and they added quite a bit of bulk. I was trying to add 1 more branch to the left side. Then I'll put liquid adhesive on the back and adhere it to the card between those bottom 2 circles. And for a finishing touch, I'll use some more of the gem stickers. This time the clear has a little bit of an iridescent look. Put 2 of them in the upper left-hand corner and then 3 toward the right around the sentiment. I kept changing my mind on the placement of the gems on the right-hand side. But I did finally end up putting the 2 underneath the sentiment and 1 right above the sentiment. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 8. Now moving on to card number 9. I have this fun tropical leaf pattern paper for the background. I'll be layering it on some orange pearlescent cardstock and then again on some green cardstock. I did cut out an oval from the green cardstock and I filled in that gap with some scrap cardstock. And I probably should have done the same thing to that pearlescent cardstock, but I didn't. I cut 3 thin strips of the green cardstock, adding them to the background. I did cut them slightly longer, wanted to make sure I had them the correct size. Putting liquid adhesive on the back and adhering them to the card. Once I feel I have them straight, I'll flip over that panel, use my scissors to trim off that extra. Then using the peel-offs that are included in the kit, I have the thinnest width and I'm adding one to the center of each of those green strips. And I don't need to add a full piece since you're not going to see the very center. It's going to be covered up by an image. Get my last piece in place, wrap the end around the back, did trim off that longer piece, put some adhesive on the back, layer this panel on that orange pearlescent cardstock, trying to figure out if there was an up or down side for the leaves. I don't think it made a difference. Put my card front onto a card base. And this is the first time I'm actually using the stamp set that's included in the kit. There's lots of great images if you love to color. I rarely ever color images, but I decided to color up this sweet little toucan that's included in the kit. Now I don't do any fancy coloring, there's no shading, so I didn't show the process of that. Now before I adhere the oval die cut, I'll add those scrap pieces of cardstock above and below where those 3 strips of green cardstock are. And put liquid adhesive on the back, and I decided to adhere it slightly more to the left. Wanted to leave enough room for the sentiment. And I've already stamped out the sentiment. Lizi has some really fun punny sentiments this month. This one is Toucan Do It. So I'll add that scrap piece of cardstock to the right side. I did cut that right side at an angle just for a little extra interest. Then I'll adhere it to the right of the bird. For a finishing touch on the card, I'll use some more of the gem stickers, this time the gold color. I'll place 3 of them in the upper left-hand corner and 2 around the sentiment. I thought it would be fun to add a little bit of sparkle to the toucan. I'm using some Nuvo glitter drops. This is the Sunlit Meadow color, and I'll add it to the little feather parts on its neck and body. Just a small little drop, and it does dry fairly flat. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 9. Now moving on to card number 10. For my final card, I decided to make a shaker card. I think it's been several months since I've done a shaker card using Love From Lizi kits. I have this beautiful floral pattern paper. I'm adding 2 strips of the peel-offs that are included in the kit, putting it at the bottom of the paper, using the medium and the narrow widths. Put this piece on some green cardstock and layer it again on some pink cardstock. There are so many beautiful colors in the pattern paper in this kit. This flower paper is definitely one of my favorites. So I'll put my card front onto a card base before I start assembling that shaker. Now the kit includes 2 of these little Polaroid pieces. It has a pattern paper on the front. Now you can see how busy that pattern is. So I'm going to actually use the back side of this little frame. The frames are really nice and sturdy. It's a chipboard. It's a little on the thinner side, but it works perfectly for a shaker window. I'm adding some double-sided tape to the back to trim down one of those pieces. I have my acetate already cut out to fit in that window. So I'll remove the release paper and attach the acetate. Trying to make sure to get it nice and straight and not have it hang off the edge. Now I need to start building up that shaker window. I'm using some thin foam strips. These are from scrapbook.com. Now they're not thick enough for a shaker window, so I will need to double the layer. So first I'll make sure to seal in that square. Also add a couple more pieces to the very bottom so everything's level. If I miss a little gap, I did have to cut just a tiny little sliver just to make sure everything will stay in place. So now I'm adding that second layer of the foam dimension. Then I can remove the release paper. I'll add some anti-static powder in the center just to help those sequins not stick to the sides. So I pulled out my sequin mix, have a little Nuvo spoon, and I'll just fill up that shaker window. And I definitely seem to be making a mess this time. Some of those sequins would leap right out of that shaker window. I had a couple of them sticking to the foam. You can see them just jump out from the static. So I'm flipping over some of the larger pieces. I like to have them mix and match, so what you're going to see on the front won't just be the back side of the sequins. Then to seal everything in place, I'm adding a piece of vellum. So press that down against the foam. And then when I place it on that pattern paper, you'll still see that floral background, but it'll have a lighter look behind that window. Then I'll add some liquid adhesive just where the foam tape is. I don't want to add it to the vellum where you'll see it on the front, since you can always see adhesive with vellum. I'll place an acrylic block on top for some extra weight to let that glue dry. For this sentiment, I've already cut this out using the word hello again. I love that Lizi included a nice general sentiment in the kit. Also using the floral ephemera piece, I'll be adhering that to the upper left-hand corner of the frame. I will add some scrap pieces of cardstock to the upper left-hand corner since the frame and the acetate are at a different level. And I do need to add 2 pieces. I trimmed off the corner since I don't want it to show. And I'll put liquid adhesive on the back of the ephemera piece, adhere it in place, put my acrylic block on top just to make sure there's enough weight and let that glue dry. I'll adhere the word hello to the bottom portion of the frame. Then I'll move that acrylic block and place it on the sentiment as well. So once all of that is dry and in place, I'll finish off the card using a few of the gem stickers from the kit, this time the dark pink color. Put 2 in the upper left-hand corner, 3 in the lower right-hand corner. I'll also add a couple of the mini circle peel-offs in the gold glitter color, just putting one on either side of the sentiment. And there is my finished card. This one was so much fun to make. Now here's a quick recap of the 10 cards I made using Love From Lizi's June 2021 card kit. The theme is Tropical Escape. As I'm recording this voiceover, the kit and most of the add-ons are still available. This is a monthly kit, so quantities are always limited. If you are interested in purchasing a kit, I would suggest not waiting. The only way to guarantee receiving a kit is to sign up and subscribe. Love From Lizi is based in the UK, but she does ship all of her products worldwide. If you do decide to subscribe, just so you know, the very first time you'll pay for your first and last kit, including shipping. After that, you'll receive an invoice each month to pay for 1 kit plus shipping. And as a subscriber, you don't pay any additional shipping for your add-ons. Now here's everything I have left over. 1 full sheet of the cardstock, little bit of the other colors. I have lots of the pattern paper scraps, and then 3 full sheets. And I also have some left over of that 6x6 add-on. I have 1 of the Polaroid frames, of course the dies and the stamp set. I still have quite a bit of the gem sticker sheet. I have quite a bit of the ribbon, kind of made a mess of it. I have some of the sequin mix, 4 of the wood pieces, the popsicle stick, and then I have quite a few of the rub-ons, 2 of the ephemera pieces, and 2 of those toppers. And then of course the peel-off sheet. And remember, this was a used peel-off sheet. You do get a full sheet in your kit. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.